After meeting Addison, she left our bags in her room before being convinced to spend some time down at the pool. After all this chaos, I was the first to agree to some rest and relaxation. After changing into our swimsuits, we met up with Quinn in the lobby, who reported that Ryan had not yet woken up. I had met Addison briefly when Anakin invited me to play Minecraft with the two of them months ago, but the picture in my head didn't match. Addison was kind of short, with long red hair, pale skin, and bright blue eyes that seemed unnatural. I sat at a table beside the pool, Space, Spencer, and Anakin on one side, and Quinn and Octavia to my left. Andrew, Addison, and the kids were in the pool, while Kaylee ordered us food. Meanwhile, Quinn and I were in the midst of a heated debate, one that the others were forced to listen to.
So I view romance and relationships in general to just be pointless. You can experience the heightened hormones from other things, such as casual drugs, or by achieving a personal victory. Having sexual intercourse for any other reason besides reproduction is pointless.
Quinn began to explain. I continued our debate. Okay, then, what about being closer with your partner? When you do it with someone you love, you feel something with them.
Pointless. It is merely a trick by the mind caused by endorphins. The entire reasoning of engaging in sexual intercourse for anything other than reproduction is simply illogical and highly irresponsible, as a single incident could lead to years of tax debt.
Octavia frowned.
What are you guys even talking about?
We are engaging in a debate on whether or not couples should experience sexual intercourse for any reason other than reproduction.
Quinn explained to her.
Ew.
She muttered.
How does any of that stuff work?
Are you joking? Or have you not received the proper sexual education?
I dropped out of school when I was 14, so no, I never got to take that class.
Octavia explained. Spencer then took his chance to explain, opening his backpack to reveal a half-eaten chocolate donut wrapped in a plastic bag. He then looked around, snatching Octavia's burrito from her hands.
All right, so once upon a time, there was a mommy and a daddy. The mommy wanted a baby, but the daddy didn't want a baby. But the mommy got her way anyways. So the daddy put his taco inside mommy's...
Kaylee came up behind him, slapping him upside the head, earning a giggle from the others. She looked at us all before asking,
So apparently they're out of everything here except tacos or burritos. Supposed to be some kind of shortage? I'll pay since all my money's gonna go to waste when the world ends anyways.
Well, that is an extremely hard decision.
Quinn muttered beneath his breath.
I mean, they're basically the same thing, right?
Quinn began another explanation.
Well, while most people see the difference between them as minimal, they are actually quite different. Now, to truly figure out which one is better, we must delve back into history to find...
Choose one, smartass!
Fine. I shall have a singular taco.
Quinn finally admitted. Before Kaylee could walk off, Quinn grabbed her hand.
If you would like, I will contribute my funds to paying for this delightful meal. My treat.
Really? Thank you.
She said, a bit surprised, before walking away with Octavia to order their food. Meanwhile, I looked over to the pool to see Axel and Julia swimming in the water. The two kids were giggling and laughing and splashing each other playfully. That was the first time I had seen Axel laugh. Nearby, I could see Andrew and Addison. The two were now just getting out, Andrew holding out his hand to help Addison up the steps politely. The two then grabbed some towels before joining us at the tables.
What's up, Lolly? Arsonist?
Spencer joked. Andrew shot a glare in my direction.
Call me that again, and I'll burn your balls to a crisp.
Well, the arsonist part was right.
Spencer muttered before quieting down. How's the water? I asked. Andrew shrugged.
I wasn't really paying attention. I was just explaining to Addison what's been going on so far.
Yeah, you guys are on the news almost every day. I was actually reading an article about you guys yesterday. Whose idea was it to use a baseball stadium to rickroll those things?
Haha, guilty as charged.
Spencer said with a smirk.
Well, you guys better hope nobody here recognizes you. With all the propaganda going on, it's best you lay low and try not to be seen.
Addison suggested.
We're sitting in the middle of a resort wearing nothing but our swimsuits, so I'd say we're doing a pretty good job of that so far.
Anakin exclaimed sarcastically. Kaylee and Octavia then returned several minutes later with a heap of food with them. Kaylee stopped at the end of the table and opened her arms to reveal a bundle of food. A plethora of tacos and burritos piled down onto the table, covering nearly half of the 12-person table we were sitting at.
Jesus, Kaylee, how much food did you buy?
Anakin asked. She shrugged.
About $62 worth. If it turns out the world isn't gonna blow up, you owe me that money back.
Octavia sat down, and Kaylee pulled her towel off before doing the same. However, when she pulled off the towel, I was forced to watch as Spencer's eyes suddenly averted to her. He was staring at her curvy figure, and I felt a twinge of jealousy. Kaylee and I were both arguably the biggest people in the group, but she was much curvier than I was. Luckily, Anakin slapped him upside the head, shooting him a glare. Spencer turned a faint red color, looking towards me. I pretended not to have noticed, continuing to eat my taco until Quinn and I began to debate again. However, it wasn't long until the others were roped in once again.
I would request your assistance in winning this debate against dear Madeline. I think that after the nuclear destruction of America, the economy will fail, the governments that supported this attack will merge, and an empire will be created. What are your predictions?
Quinn asked. Spencer raised his hand, speaking in an excited voice.
Ooh, me!
Anyone?
Quinn asked, ignoring Spencer.
Come on, I got a real good moneymaker here!
Quinn sighed, pointing to Spencer. He smirked triumphantly, beginning his explanation.
Okay, so, sometime in the future, I don't know when, there's gonna be a huge rise in, drumroll please, genetically engineered cat girls!
We all gave him a confused look. Even me, who was an anime connoisseur at this point. Well, I was unsure of what he was talking about.
Now hear me out. Out of every single type of waifu in anime, from lollies to yanderes, the most popular of them all are cat girls. They're like normal anime girls, but better. So I predict, sometime within the next 5 years, society will find the answer to genetically engineering real-life cat girls. Meow.
He explained. Quinn let out a sigh of disappointment as he shook his head.
Spencer. Oh dear Spencer. I apologize, but you are the dumbest organic being I have ever had the displeasure of meeting.
I'm dumb? Look at Anakin's grades. I'm surprised he was still able to graduate, at least before the school got turned into Ground Zero.
At least he managed to sustain a somewhat healthy relationship, which is surprising considering the circumstances. Yours, however, I might recently regard as a train wreck, considering the actions of your significant other.
Quinn stated, a slight smirk on his face.
What? What are you talking about?
Spencer questioned. I looked towards Quinn, an alarmed look in my face as I realized what he was getting at. Quinn.
I am speaking of the short-lived affair between Miss Madeline and Sir Hunter. The spark lit by your incompetence and inability to step away from your video games.
He spoke. My face turned red. A warmth feeling filling my body. And I knew at that moment that the secret was out. The secret that I never intended to make even exist.
Affair? What do you mean?
Spencer asked. Not now. I thought to myself, of all times for this to be brought up, why now?
Several nights ago, while the majority of us were gathered in the barn, I noticed Madeline join Hunter inside the farmhouse beside it. Curious, I decided to follow them and stumbled upon a circle jerk of emotional venting, followed by a romantic embrace of the physical variation.
He explained. I spoke up. Quinn, don't.
Quinn, cut the bullshit and get to the point!
Spencer exclaimed, anger in his eyes.
While you were digging a grave with Andrew, Your significant other was locking lips with Hunter Jackson.
Quinn admitted blatantly. The room turned silent. None of the others spoke. The only sound coming from Spencer's heavy breaths. He was sitting in his seat, staring down at the table as tears formed in the corner of his eyes. Slowly, I could see his fists balling.
Maddie, what is he talking about?
Spencer,
Don't bullshit me, Maddie! Did you kiss him or no?
he asked. It was a heat of the moment thing, Spencer. I didn't
If that
mean
was
to.
true, it wouldn't have happened in the first place! The entire time in Evansville, I thought you were upset because you were overwhelmed! But I guess it was because your boyfriend got himself killed!
He screamed. I then jolted up, standing up out of my chair and screaming at him through tears. At least he was more of a boyfriend than you! Spencer's angered face faded almost instantly, and I screamed at him even more. All these months, for the past year, I have had to deal with the worst of you. Begging for you to put down the controller just to cuddle with me, spending hours making the two of us dinner while you sit in the living room playing Mario. Fucking hell, I should have ended it when you snuck away in the night to play your pervert anime games on the computer.
You're saying this is my fault?
Yes, Spencer. This whole fucking situation is your fault. You treat that dumb bimbo on your dating sim more like a girlfriend than you did to me. Just maybe if you hadn't sat on your ass playing video games all day, then I wouldn't have had to find a real man to love me. Before he could say anything more, I left. Nothing else he could say would convince me to take him back. It was over. I was done taking his shit. I turned around, stomping off to the hotel with tears in my eyes. Every other step I took, I felt a twinge of regret. But during those steps in between, I felt relief. I wanted things to go back to how they used to be, but I knew they wouldn't. And now I was alone. Now I was single. Now I was rid of him. No longer would I have to deal with his video games, his immaturity, or his perverseness. I walked into the lobby, trying desperately to resist the urge to cry, but as soon as I turned my head to look at the arcade, I broke. Fell to my knees, tears just streaming down my face as I whimpered quietly.
Madeline! Madeline, wait up!
I saw Quinn rush into the hotel, spotting me entering the elevator. I prayed for the doors to close, but he was able to slip through them before they slammed shut. I turned away from him, facing the wall as he stood beside me. "What the hell do you want, Quinn?" I asked through tears as I sniffled, wiping my nose with my hoodie.
Well, it is within the law of social construct that when someone is upset and storms off, someone follows after them and gives them a comforting talk.
I scoffed through tears. Oh, and you of all people decide to be that person. No offense, but you are the last person I'd expect to comfort anyone. Especially after what you just did.
That may be semi-correct, but I am truly sorry for what happened just now. I did not realize the repercussions that revealing your secret caused, and I only wanted to prevent any unnecessary drama that could start in the future by keeping said secret. But it seems in doing so, I have made the situation worse.
He stated in a solemn tone. No shit, I muttered.
My intentions were good, Madeline. The execution was just, well, worse than Andrew is at being nice to Spencer.
I smiled weakly at that last remark, and finally looked at him. Don't apologize. The truth would have come out eventually. It's his fault for being such an asshole, and my fault for thinking I could have put it in the past. You know, I used to say we were meant for each other. But I think I was just dreaming.
Au contraire. I actually see you two as some sort of power couple. Or at least I used to. While I have yet to witness many of the interactions between Anakin and Space that will allow me to judge the validity of their relationship, the feelings I have seen between you and Spencer are truly genuine in my eyes.
He told me. I'm not so sure about that. But I'm not so sure I'm meant for Spencer. You may think we work together like that, but I'm not so sure if I work for anyone, I said, as the elevator doors opened. A man was about to step in, but Quinn moved his hoodie to the side to flash his gun, and the man immediately stepped outside. The doors closed once more, and I continued. Maybe I should just give up on dating. There isn't going to be many options left when the world ends, huh?
I suppose not, but I am sorry for what has occurred. If you wish to become asexual alongside me, I will gladly accept you into our cult.
Quinn joked. I'm not becoming asexual, but don't apologize for something that isn't your fault. It's all Spencer's fault, and I have had enough of being hurt and apologized to, I said to him.
Well, according to the law of social construct, apologizing is something someone should do when someone loses someone close to them or is going through a hard time. You seem to be going through both of those?
I don't want to hear it, I replied, turning away from him as I wiped the tears from my eyes.
Alright then. Lately, I have been trying to act a little less of an asshole, as Space would put it, and be a bit more human like the rest of you, without de-evolving to your stage of evolution, of course.
For some reason, that last statement offended me. I shot him a glare and he took a few steps away, predicting that I had intended to hit him. Trying to become normal, huh? Yeah, right. Quinn, you can't change. Neither can Spencer from his ways of gawking at every hot girl that passes by, I told him, as the elevator opened, and we exited onto Brianna's floor.
Normal is a very loose term. However, I can say for a fact that I am trying to be more relatable. For example, I was thinking of getting interested in the concept of anime. Watching Sword Art Online would be a start.
Oh, considering how you are, I'd suggest watching the abridged fan dub online instead.
And why is that?
Plot inconsistencies, sideline characters, baseless romance.
Well, after all this is over, I hope that we will get a chance to sit down and watch it together. As long as I do not have to deal with any of that cursed fan service Spencer is obsessed with, I think I shall enjoy it.
I gave a small giggle as we stopped at the window at the end of the hall. I stared down at the scene below, Spencer sitting at the edge of the pool while everyone else was talking. You're an interesting person, Quinn. If your goal is to become a bit more human, then you're doing good in the comforting part so far. We may be in a situation where one of us could die at any time. But it looks like that brings out the best of us, I said as I stared up at the moon.
How so?
He asked. Look at how we've changed. Andrew's lessening up on Spencer a little bit. Then Anakin and Space are dating now, and as much as I hate to admit it, even Spencer's trying to step up a little. I mean, he did save us earlier, and now you're trying to open up a little bit too. It's kind of sweet, I told him, a faint smile on my face as I reminisced over the past few days.
Hunter expressed a similar feeling as you are the other day,
he explained. I frowned. What do you mean?
When I was younger, my parents taught me to look on life with logic, not with emotions and not with any biased opinions. Eventually, that turned into my view, my look on life. how I see everything, and how dark that was. I see the truth in the world where the others don't, and Hunter didn't like that. He thought I should be more optimistic.
Well, I'm glad that you're opening up a little, I said with a smile. He was right to think that. Quinn then shot me a look, his eyes staring into mine. He was peering into my soul, analyzing my deepest, darkest secrets. I could tell by the questions he was asking that he was suspecting something.
Do you truly love Spencer? Or at least, did you?
Quinn asked me. I sighed. Love is a strong word.
Yes, it very much is. However, I have noticed lately that it has not been the same. Like I said before, I used to see you as a power couple who could pull through their differences. But the last few months, primarily the past few days, have been different, to say the least.
Different how? I asked.
We have both noticed it. That look in your eyes whenever I mention his name, how you are always so concerned over him. You have not loved the boy sitting downstairs with the others for a while.
He told me.
You loved Hunter, didn't you?
I sighed, trying to avert the conversation. Finally using contractions, huh?
Only to you, my dear Madeline. Am I correct to assume you fell in love with our fallen comrade?
I mean, it's confusing. Lately, he's just been out of it. No one's really caring about our relationship. Focusing more on his stupid video games. And then one night, I went over to Hunter's to hang with him and Michael, but Michael never showed up. We talked through the night, hung out a few more times after that, I admit it. And then when all this happened, and we were around each other so much, I couldn't ignore what I felt. I tried, and then the other day we were alone in the farmhouse and...
You didn't...
I shook my head. No, we kissed. He kissed me in the attic, and that's when I found out he was infected, and... Oh God, I just wish I could have told him sooner.
Why did you not?
He asked me. I was scared. I didn't want to be known as the girl who cheated on her boyfriend, and I certainly didn't want to break this group up. I was afraid of leaving Spencer at first because he was still a good person. I continued. I wanted to tell him the night after, but then you guys got separated, and then he... Quinn gave me a light pat on the shoulder.
If this plan does not go the way it was intended to, you will be able to tell him soon.
As much as I want to tell him face to face, I would prefer if we all survive, I said with a weak smile. Do you think I'm a hypocrite for being mad at Spencer? After what I did?
What happened between the three of you is none of my business. And where you go from here is your decision.
He told me. I smiled at him before pulling him into a quick hug. Quinn sighed, hugging me back lightly. Do you think we're gonna make it? I asked. He smiled at me kindly.
We will make it. I promise you that.
But I knew one thing. I would not put up with Spencer anymore.